Thank you, Lasker. Look, there are a few things that the public expect from their government. It's not too long a list, and the demands aren't too unreasonable. By large, they are a roof over their heads and a reasonable hope that their children may have the same. A job that is able to put food on the table and a functioning healthcare system. At different times and in different ways, the government of this country have struggled to meet these modest criteria. I'm not going to go into detail regarding the foundational issue plaguing our healthcare system. They're well known into the record of this House at this stage by myself and others. But it must be remarked on that last week the Irish Dental Association annual conference tabled and passed a motion of no confidence in both Minister for Health Stephen Donnelly and the Department of Health officials, whom they feel have failed to enable their sector to operate at an acceptable level. And this showed that almost 40% of our patients are now having to wait an average of up to 3 months to get an elective appointment, including orthodontic and oral surgery. This is the direct result of ongoing recruitment issues and a capacity crisis across this sector. More than half of dentists surveyed said they have tried to hire a dentist for their practice in the last 12 months, with almost 60% of those unable to find a suitable candidate. As a result, patients are finding it increasingly difficult to access essential care across both the private and public sector. So I'm calling for a debate with Minister for Health on what targeted measures may be taken to alleviate the strain that has been put on the dentists nationwide. Speaking on healthcare, I would urge everyone to take a read of the recent letter from the Bishops' Conference regarding the government's abortion review, as it concisely and succinctly lays out the opposition of many of the process and its results. Some of the highlights are as follows. The fact that we are given not a review of the Act in itself, but only a review of how it operates, is regrettable in the extreme. It narrowed the scope of the review in a manner that has negatively impacted our ability to tailor the legislation. Over the 3-year period covered by the review, 2019 to 2021, almost 18,000 pregnancies were terminated in Ireland. During the same period, there were 175,000 children in Ireland born. For every 10 children born alive, 1 was aborted. Some of us noticed that, at a certain point, the rare portion of the pro-abortion safe, legal and rare slogan was dropped. Even its supporters knew that this was never going to be the case. And finally, we now know that over a quarter of all women who presented at a medical consultation for abortion choose not to go ahead with it, and that the opportunity was afforded to them by way of the mandatory 3-day wait period. So now, of course, we're being told that it should become completely advisory. The intentional weakening of this essential protection, both of women and the unborn child, must be strongly opposed, and I hope that the merits of such protections will be given sufficient airing in this chamber, the lower house and in government buildings. Thank you.
Senator Keogan has raised the matter of the least that people expect, a roof over their heads and jobs to put food on the table. And I certainly know, going back to 2011, when I entered these houses, first was a different country and a different world. We had a situation where, if you want to talk about housing, you were talking about ghost estates, people in negative equity, bus banks, bus developers, and the IMF in the country. So we've come a long way from then. We have effectively got full employment, and that goes back to a number of the issues that were raised here, and the inability to get people to do provide all the services that are needed. But you've raised valid questions regarding the Irish Dental Council and the capacity, if you like, within the system, and dentists not signing up to the HSE schemes. So I will request a debate on that matter. You also talked about the abortion review. I'm sure we will have statements or a debate on this, and I'll certainly request that. I know the Health Committee have been asked to examine the review that has been taken, and I know we'll be dealing with that, I think, later in the month as well, with the authors of the review. As said, it'll be up to each individual member then of both houses to cast their judgment on any legislative changes that might be proposed.